listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's another episode of 91 Reasons. And I have something today I don't ever have on the show. Other people, other voices. I got asked to do a show last Halloween season, Coaster Challenge. And I have the two hosts here. Why don't you guys introduce yourself and tell us what the heck Coaster Challenge is?
Hey there, Jeff. This is Andrew Locke. I'm one of the executive producers of Coaster Challenge. Nice chatting with you again. So I'm actually going to introduce the other host here, the other executive producer, because he's the founder. I'll have him tell you a little bit about what Coaster Challenge is. David, why don't you take it away?
I think it's important. It's a really great idea for a podcast.
Thank you.
Well, hi, Jeff. It's good to see you again. So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm David Cantu, and I am the executive producer of the Coaster Challenge podcast. I founded Coaster Challenge back in 2015. And basically, trying to cut a long story short, if you were to ask me before 2015 to get on a roller coaster, the answer would have been hell no. You would never, ever be able to get me on any type of roller coaster. Well, 2015 was a year of difficulty, and a friend of mine had challenged me to get on California Screamin' over at Disney's California Adventure. I got on that coaster for the first time, and it completely changed my life. To the fact that I've ridden over 240 roller coasters around the country. And I started a YouTube channel at first to help people be able to break their fears, because the roller coasters helped me, because as a kid, I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome when I was 9 years old. And the roller coasters actually helped suppress my Tourette's, because there's no treatment. There's really no cure for this disorder. And doctors were just blown away by the results of what roller coasters can do with somebody with a disorder like Tourette's. And we also found out, since we've been doing Coaster Challenge, because we interview a lot of people, that roller coasters have helped a lot of people with autism, all kind ADHD, any kind of major other disorders. Roller coasters and theme parks, for some reason, suppress it to make it feel like they don't even have it. So it's been kind of a miracle what Andrew and I call it theme park therapy, basically, and it really helps.
Yeah, especially theme park therapy is good for physical disorders, as David mentioned, spectrum disorders, autism, Asperger's, everything between. But especially, as I personally know, because I have a bipolar disorder myself, depression and anxiety, the ping pong of depression and anxiety never being stable, centered in between the two. Theme park therapy is fantastic mindfulness, whether it be the immersion of a wonderful theme park like Knott's Berry Farm or Disney or Universal high themed parks, or even any park, even if it doesn't have a lot of theming, whether it be high theming or not, with your coasters and your shows, your rides, just taking your attention, your full attention is just amazing. And then of course your high thrill rides, your coasters and whatnot, the adrenaline and endorphins that are involved, you can't help but get a break from whatever your troubles are and actually be in the moment when riding a roller coaster or a high thrill ride. So theme park therapy is real, it's legitimate, and we've talked to many people through our first season. We're now into our second season, where theme parks have helped people. It's not just about having fun. All three of us here, Jeff, you as well, we all like theme parks, we enjoy them, but it goes beyond fun. It actually is good for you. How crazy is something that's fun and positive being good for you? So.
Right. Well, I know I've spoken to some people who worked and created Ghost Town Alive at Knott's Berry Farm. That's this ultra immersive day at Ghost Town, where it's all the residents are alive and well, and the buildings are all functional. And they've had more than one family come through where the child has autism, and he's nonverbal. He doesn't speak. And for some reason, the Ghost Town Alive play element opens up these kids, and we've had more than one family say at the end of the summer, and because they saw what good it was doing, so they brought the kid back again and again and again, and by the end of the summer the kid was talking. Like, it's completely amazing the more I hear these stories. And I think it has to do, like you said, with the endorphins, the thrill, but there's also what other place on earth can you walk into and pretend to be a cowboy and everybody there says, well, yeah, you're a cowboy. You know what I mean? Like it's an immediate yes and. It's the old improv game of yes and, when you go, well, I'm a cattle rustler, and the person there says, we don't want any trouble here.
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. And Ghost Town in Knott's Berry Farm is absolutely incredible. The level of theming, it's pretty expansive. I've been to world-class parks, your Disney, Universals. I've been to Dollywood, which kind of has a similar theming kind of style to Ghost Town. And not to seem bad about those other parks, they have some great theming, but Ghost Town is fantastic. I think it's the best theming within the Cedar Fair chain of all the parks in the Cedar Fair chain for that land. It's amazing.
Well, if you take the idea that the Old West, as we know it, the quote unquote Old West, was a pretty short amount of time in America, 1860s to like 1890s. I mean, that's it. The Old West came and went pretty fast. So when Walter Knott built Ghost Town in the 40s and 50s, we're about 60 years from the end of the Old West, and he's paying homage to it. Well, if you look at it now, it's older now than it was when it was meant to be a tribute to the Old West. Does that make sense? Because we're 70 years now from when it opened versus 60 years from when the tribute. So it's a weird dichotomy. And a lot of the buildings that Walter used originally were from the Old West. He didn't buy buildings. They did build a few, but he just went out and said, hey, is this building for sale? We want it. So they just took it to the park.
That's amazing. That's really cool. And I talked to you about this before, Jeff. I used to live in California and I live in Orlando, Florida. I've never had a chance to do Ghost Town Alive because it debuted once I moved to Florida. But I'm hoping to go to Knott's perhaps even this summer once Ghost Town Alive is going again and check it out for myself, because I love the concepts of live action role play and that sort of thing. It's really fun. So
it's completely immersive. It's one of a kind. I know they're trying it at the other park with sort of a space theme, but it's nothing compared to what the grittiness of Ghost Town is. But hey, we were talking about you're talking about roller coasters and Coaster Challenge. So we said, let's get together, because you were in the park not that long ago. We were hanging out.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys said, hey, let's get together and talk about, because on 91 Reasons, we talk about 80s movies mostly and other stuff.
Right.
Like, let's talk about an 80s movie. And what better 80s movie than a movie about a family's quest to ride a roller coaster? And of course, we're talking about 1983's Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation, starring Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Anthony Michael Hall, and the tinfoil hat wearing Randy Quaid.
Yeah, what a classic comedy. It is so timeless and one of my favorites of all time. And I had suggested this to you, Jeff, because David and I, being big roller coaster fans and theme park fans, two things that we love, obviously one of those being coasters, but the other is the road trip. The road trip is central to being a coaster enthusiast, because if you're a true enthusiast, you're not just going to your home park or parks. You're going all over. You want to try out the new best, greatest thing, or something a friend told you about, or just try to ride as many coasters as possible, visit as many parks. So in fact, I've got 2 road trips planned here just the next 30 days myself to go to parks, and I love it. I love it. So the movie is all about the American road trip.
It's funny because I recently watched National Lampoon's Vacation. It just happened to be on TV a couple of nights ago. So I sat and was watching it, and just seeing the journey trip, like they were going from Chicago all the way to California. It was funny because back in December, I recently did a round trip from California to Ohio. And I felt like that trip that I saw through the movie, it seemed so much similar, because I was going through some trouble during that trip, because for some reason you go through Texas, you take the 40 and you go through Amarillo. For some reason, my truck was acting up when I was driving through Texas, because the fuel in Texas was really bad. My truck just did not like any of the gas at any of the gas stations in Texas. So my truck was acting up because it got bad fuel. But when I would leave the state, my truck was fine. It would just run perfectly fine. So I don't know what's going on in Texas, but they must be doing dirty fuel or something. But boy, I have a 2018 truck here. It's not an old truck. And it just did not like whatever fuel they were putting in Texas.
Well, my childhood was different in that I'm from Southern California. We're the theme park capital of the world, and within 2 hours, I can go to Knott's Berry Farm, Disneyland, SeaWorld, Marineland back in the day, Magic Mountain, and any countless smaller parks. So there was no childhood road trips to amusement parks. Why? They're 20 minutes down the road. But what we did do is all of my family's from Tennessee. So 3 or 4 summers of my youth were spent in the car driving from California to Tennessee. So all the states, the Texas Panhandle. And I was trying to describe that because we just watched the movie last night. I was trying to explain to my middle kid here. He's 21 now. And I said, this movie's a pretty accurate portrayal of what it was like on those trips because there's no smartphones. There's no video game systems. I said, you either read a book. If you were lucky, you had one of those Coleco football games with the little red dots that moved around.
Right.
Or you made your fingers run along the freeway like you were jumping over things. But a lot of times you just stared off into space praying for the next stop because there was nothing out there. There's just nothing out there. It's totally different now to some degree. I know that there's still long stretches with nothing out there.
I'll tell you to add in what you said, Jeff. Another thing I would say back in the day is there was no satellite radio. So you had wire antenna, you had bunny ear antenna on your car. Right. So if you're driving through rural America or you're driving through the middle of a desert, you'll get no reception. So you're always everywhere, every state you travel, you're always having to switch the dial. Like, okay, let's find a radio station. Yada, yada. And I think back then it was like tape decks versus what we have today with iPods and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, during the late 90s, early 2000s, we used to drive to Las Vegas at least twice a year. And the cars we were in did not have cassette players or CD players. It had a radio. And there's long stretches where there's no radio until you reach the middle of the desert to the highway stations, 98 and 99. And it was 2 stations that would play like a combination of cheesy 80s songs, cheesy country songs, and then like dance music. Just completely random music. And they'd go, the weather today in Victorville. And like, oh, Victorville, I recognize that.
Yeah, you talk about having, better options today for the road trips, podcasts, be a little meta here. I'm not just a host of this podcast. I actually help produce this podcast as well as another one, that Coaster Enthusiast podcast for America's Coaster Enthusiasts, ACE, the largest coaster organization in the world. But I'm not just a producer of podcasts. I love consuming them as well. That's how I got involved with actually producing them, is just being a lover of them. And so with my road trips coming up, I'm a little behind on my podcast right now. I've listened to a whole bunch of different ones, and I've just been busy lately. And so I'm going to catch up on my road trip. I've got some long, like a 14-hour each way road trip this weekend, and it's all about listening to my podcast.
Like, imagine a time, like when you were a kid, when I was a kid, doing these road trips, 1980, 81, 82, 83. I can't imagine being able to dial up a specialized show about the things I like specifically, like, we're driving across country. Let me get a podcast about action figure collecting and theme parks. Like, I can't even fathom that. The closest thing I had to that was a choose your own adventure book.
Oh yeah. I remember those. Yeah. Yeah. And it's another thing I love about this movie is, again, being about road trips. One of the things that happens, and David alluded to this, is when you're on a road trip, things can go wrong. Things can, you can get traffic, you can have a car breakdown, you can have, your crazy, second cousin, this old woman that you hate, die in the back seat of the car in the movie. All kinds of crazy things happen. And my parents and I, when I was growing up, we weren't doing theme park road trips. We were just doing family road trips, vacations, and not cross country, but sometimes several states across, just to go do things. And things would go wrong, and just the comedy of errors. And we would usually laugh them off. but still, in the moment, it's like, what do you do when some tragedy occurs, some problem occurs? How do you come back from that? It's all about being quick on your feet and be adaptable. Be very adaptable.
What I find interesting about road trips anywhere else in the country is someone will say, "Oh yeah, we're going on a road trip. We're going to hit 4 states, and then we'll be where we're going." And here in California, you go, "Well, let's go on a road trip." You drive 9 hours, and you're still in California.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You drive 12 hours, and you're still in California. You don't realize how freaking big the state is till you look at the East Coast and all the states stacked on top of each other. So you can have a variety. And here it's just, well, various degrees of a-hole California people.
All the great drivers. Yeah. California and Texas, there are 2 states here in the contiguous U.S. at least, where you can very easily be driving for multiple days if you're stopping and staying overnight.
Yeah.
Before you're through the state.
Well, I'll never forget. My family and I. We had to drive to Texas. We took the 10 freeway, and you get to El Paso, and you're like, "Oh, great, we're in Texas." But then my dad goes, "Yes, but we still have another 18 hours." I go, "It's
Texas
gonna take
is
us
the same way, right?"
Yeah,
Yep.
Texas, and it takes that long because we have to go to a small town called Falfurrias, Texas. Well, here's the problem: you have to drive from El Paso to San Antonio, which is probably another 8 to 10 hours. And then we have to go south of Texas, which is another 6 to 7 hours. And I'm like, wow, this state is huge.
And we're still here.
Yep. Crazy.
So let me ask you, did either one of you guys happen to see this in the theater, or was this a home video
Oh
viewing
gosh.
for the first time?
So for me, I was 7 years. No, I'm sorry. No, I was 9 years old, 10 years old when this came out. I don't think my parents, now I went to the movies, Jeff, that's something you and I especially, we share a lot is movies. We love movies. It's one of the reasons why I love listening to this podcast. And my parents are the ones that got me going with that. We would go to the movies all the time as a kid. But I don't think they took me to see this movie. They might have. First time I remember seeing it was when I was like maybe 12 years old or so, watching it at home, on VHS or something like that.
For me, I was born in 1981, so I was like 3 years old when this movie came out. So I wish I could have gotten a chance to see it in theater if it was 10 years later.
Did you see it?
I think my first time seeing it was my parents rented it at a video store. God, we're going back to those days, a video rental store. Blockbuster Video, that was my generation right there, the 90s. But it's just the first time was like a family get together watching a comedy in our living room with a bowl of popcorn, and I was just amazed by the movie when I saw it. I think I was probably 10 or 12 years old when I saw it for the first time. So
did you see it in theaters, Jeff?
No, it's weird. I didn't see this one in the theater. My mother took me to a lot of movies, and even R-rated movies. I saw like Arthur in the theater.
Oh, same.
And not just because I would beg to see genre pictures like Star Wars, Black Hole, Tron, those kind of movies. This is a middle of the road comedy, so it probably wasn't on my mom's radar.
I see.
But this is one of those classic movies like do you ever see the movie Zapped with Scott Baio?
No.
Scott Baio's in a movie where he gets magical powers through a lab accident. I remember watching it because Heather Thomas is in it, and Heather Thomas didn't make a lot of movies. But the thing with Zapped was I recorded it off TV, and I recorded Vacation off TV as well, editing all the commercials out, being dutifully sitting there and pausing it when the commercial came on, taking the pause off when the commercial came off. So I watched Zapped and Vacation are 2 prime examples of movies I taped off of television on my Betamax player. And
nice.
I would watch them over and over. I mean, Vacation is insanely quotable. It's insanely rewatchable. Here's the difference, though. I didn't know it had the F word or nudity in it because the TV version doesn't have that. And I remember on a whim renting the VHS or the beta at the video store, popping it and going, wait a minute, this is a different movie. I had no idea. It's so much funnier at the end when he's screaming the F word at his family. Yes. Sometimes you have to have that for the comedic effect, right? Now the nudity, it's weird that again, we just watched it last night. it's weird that Beverly D'Angelo is topless 4 times in this movie.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's
yeah.
completely bizarre, but it's interesting that I watched the TV version so much that when I watched the real version, the theatrical version, I'm shocked because the TV version didn't have the scene where they're stuck in the urban part of town.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was a shocked scene to me when I watched it. I'm like, wait a minute, where are
Right.
they? Oh my God. And the
Right.
guy goes, you want to go down there? There's going to be a Torino with no wheels. And inside that Torino.
Yeah, I had a similar kind of reaction, not back when I saw it in the 80s the first time, but just a couple days ago, I rewatched it in preparation for this podcast today. And I, like you, I guess I had seen the TV version quite a few times because I have a pretty good memory for movies. And you know, you don't even know if you remember something, but then when you're actually experiencing it, you're like, you remember it. Like, you know, I remember
sure.
that. Yeah, so I was feeling a lot of nostalgia and remembering a lot of the scenes in the movie, most of it actually. But when Chevy Chase, one of my favorite comedic actors of all time, as Clark Griswold, when he's of course the typical dad family man, you know, of course getting stressed out because things aren't going the way they're supposed to, the way he planned out. And he starts, you know, again, yelling out the F word many times in the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't remember this. This is really cool. I like this. You don't see that, you know. So,
He goes, we're 20 minutes from the fucking park and you guys want to turn around? This isn't a vacation anymore. It's a quest. It's a quest for fun. We're going to have so much fun. They're going to have to sandblast the smiles off our faces. We'll be whistling zippity doo out of our assholes. Like, it's so good because, like, what modern directors don't understand is that a well-placed obscenity is so much funnier if you haven't heard it for 2 hours.
Yes.
And you're just like, okay, let's talk about the film real quick, like in depth. Vacation is about a guy named Clark Griswold who is a boring man. He is in food additives, not preservatives. Right. And he's decided that for his family vacation, everybody wants to go to Hawaii, but he's going to take the family basically to Disneyland because they watch the Disneyland show every week. They're somehow, he's equating these, that his kids are younger because they could care less about Walley World. They just could care less. Right. But at one point, they were really excited about Mickey Mouse. I'm sort of juxtaposing the two here.
Right.
At one point, the Griswold family was very into Wally, Marty Moose and all the characters and the TV show. And they probably talked about going to the theme park a lot. So Clark has made this is the Valhalla of family vacations. And he is going to not only take his family there, but he's going to make them endure a insufferable road trip just to get there. Because, and here's the thing, movies change as you get older. The movies don't change, but your perspective of them changes. And when I watched this as a kid, I just thought, well, it's a goofy guy taking his family to a theme park. But as a father and a father of kids that aren't so young anymore, this is actually a movie about a guy trying to get one last moment with his kids before they leave the house. And this is the way he's decided to do it. And that's why he's so feverish about even the most minute things, the ball of twine, the house of mud. He just wants this memory with his family. And it's weird that I never picked up on that until I got, Gray. But it's interesting to overlay it. And then there's also a moment or an overlay of not only is he a guy, and you guys have to jump in here because I know I talk a million miles a minute. Worries. There's also this thing of not only is he trying to do this for his kids, but he's really into his wife because watch the movie now. He spends every solitary moment with her trying to have sex with her.
Yes.
It's over and over again. He's got her panties. They're in a sleeping bag. He's trying to get oral while he's driving down the freeway.
Right.
Like it's very sexual.
Exactly. It is. Yeah.
And he is rebuffed every time by her.
Yeah. So here's the biggest question I want to ask the two of you, especially you, Jeff. Every National Lampoon's movie that Chevy Chase has done, there's always the blonde girl in the sports car.
Christy Brinkley.
So my
Christy
question
Brinkley,
is,
yes.
because she comes up a lot, even in the Vegas vacation one, is that just a fantasy of her, of what he sees his wife?
We were just talking about this, my son and I.
Yeah.
Because for 90% of the movie, the Christy Brinkley character, I don't think she really exists. I think that they wanted to make this like, how do you describe it? You ever see, this is going to be so left field. Have you ever seen Bridges of Madison County?
Yes.
Where at the end of the movie, Meryl Streep is with her husband. She loves him. She has a family with him. But out the window is Clint Eastwood. And if she just opens the door, she can go be with him and have this adventure. I think that the blonde in the Ferrari represents his midlife crisis, right?
Yes, and it's fantasy.
The road not taken.
Literally,
the thing about the road not taken is it was not taken for a reason, right? And at the end of the movie, Christy Brinkley is there in the flesh, and they get in the pool together, and she's willing to have sex with him, and everybody sees it. Even Ellen sees that she's real. So I think they're playing with the trope of that a little bit. But there is one weird indication in the movie that maybe she's not real. And this is really odd. When they go to Dodge City and they walk into the tourist restaurant, on the register is an ad for Coppertone suntan oil featuring Christy Brinkley.
Yeah, it's very meta. That's very meta, which wasn't common in the 80s. It's more common now. That's a good point.
So I don't know. I think it's great. It's also, have you ever seen the movie The Woman in Red with Gene Wilder and Kelly LeBrock?
No.
It's about a guy who is completely obsessed with Kelly LeBrock. He doesn't know who she is. She's just the woman in red. And he spends 90 minutes trying to have sex with her. And at the very end of the movie, she meets him and she goes, okay, let's have sex. And he goes, wait a minute, you're just gonna have sex with me? She's like, well, why not? And it's nothing like he wanted. And he realizes at the very end, this is not what I wanted. I chased this fantasy mirage. And like Clark with Ellen, because even Ellen at the end goes, if that's what you want, Clark, I'm going to take all my clothes off and jump in the water too. And Clark is like, I don't want this. You know what I mean? I don't want this.
when he's faced with it, he's been dreaming and fantasizing. When he actually is right in front of him, he's like, realizes he is truly dedicated to his wife and apologetic to her afterwards.
A lot of things in life, the chase is better than the resolution.
Or the journey is.
The journey's better than the destination, right?
Yeah.
So back to the lovely blonde lady in the red car.
Yes.
But remember the one scene in Vacation is when you were at the hotel and he was in the pool, and then I believe that was her that came into the pool with him.
Yeah, that's correct.
The skinny dip in the pool.
Yeah.
So I said, that was another thing too. I was sitting there thinking, I go, was she real in that, or was she real? Was it a fantasy? Because
Ellen references her.
Ellen scoffs.
I'm just wondering for Clark if that was a fantasy. Like, was she really there in the pool with him? Oh
no, she was. She was. They make so much noise. Remember, the water is so cold. He's freaking out, screaming, and right in a motel there, and everyone comes out of the rooms, including the kids and Ellen. And Ellen's looking down at him, scoffing at him. And he has to apologize to her. They have a conversation afterwards, and they make up, and then they have sex, or it's implied they wind up in the pool and together.
And the reason why I said that is because if you look back at Christmas Vacation, when he's standing at the window looking at his backyard, he just pictures the pool, and then all of a sudden she appears in a red bathing suit, and then all of a sudden kicks it off, and then all of a sudden you see this bathing suit hitting the window in front of him. It was just all a fantasy. So I thought, was that pool scene at the hotel almost similar to that?
Well,
but you're right. You're right. They were very loud. They woke up everybody at the hotel looking out their doors.
Right. But here's the thing, even within the confines of what we're talking about, they only wake up because Clark is yelling. She doesn't do any yelling. And then the joke is that a few minutes later, Ellen does the same joke. It's cold. Oh my God. And everybody comes out again.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that they're just sort of messing with you a little bit. Is she real? Is she not? Well, she is in the pool, but ultimately it doesn't really matter, because the whole point of it is to show you that Clark and Ellen really do love each other. Yeah. And, Clark's to blame for putting himself in that situation, because, I mean, if you watch the movie, he leaves Ellen and goes to the hotel bar looking for a strange woman. Like he has no idea that Christy Brinkley's character is going to be there, but he has put on these ridiculous white shoes that cousin Eddie gave him. And he's out trolling for women. And it's obvious, like, this guy's going to have an affair, like on his family vacation. He's looking for a one night stand.
Right. He's just desperate because him and Ellen had just had a fight, and it's just that typical kind of thing.
Yeah.
And blown up.
And there's a great meme that has a picture of those shoes, and it says, if your father has a pair of shoes like this, you have a sister or brother you've never met.
yeah. Now, one more thing about the Christy Brinkley character, and I want to reflect on, we're mainly talking, of course, about the original classic National Lampoon's Vacation. There's been several other movies, though, and I'm not even going to go towards that atrocity of the remake. I don't want to talk about that one. But, was Christy Brinkley there in that first one? And she is in I'm a car guy. I'm a sports car guy. It's one of my hobbies besides coasters and so forth. And she's there in this beautiful classic, everyone thinks a Ferrari, they think of a red Ferrari. She's in a red Ferrari 308, classic Ferrari from that era, the late 70s into the early to mid 80s. Now, I've not seen European Vacation in a long time. I don't think she's in that movie. And David, by the way, she is not in Christmas Vacation. That is another actor.
Another actor.
But the same kind of character that he fantasizes, and he's tongue-tied, and it's very nipply out, can't fixated on her breasts and so forth. And that store was hilarious in Christmas Vacation. But in Vegas Vacation, which is very special to me, by the way, because I used to live in Arizona. And when you live in Arizona, it's the opposite of, say, here in Florida or you guys there in California. There's nothing to do in Arizona. So when you live in Arizona, you do go on road trips, you fly places, you drive. I have been to Vegas so many times because of the 5 years I lived in Arizona. So I'm used to that whole, doing a trip, even with my parents who lived in Arizona too. When I was in college there, we would do family trips or trips with friends to Vegas. So I can appreciate that. And, when they're on the road there in Vegas or near Vegas, he comes across that same character. It's Christy Brinkley all over again, 20 years later, whatever it was, still looking beautiful. And she's in a red Ferrari, but there's a huge difference this time around. She's got a baby in the back. Now, you're probably thinking Ferrari. Not many Ferraris have back seats. Very few do. And she was in there with her baby, the only ever four-seater convertible Ferrari, because they have to have a back seat for the baby for safety. And that is a Ferrari Mondeo, which is a very rare Ferrari. It wasn't very popular because it had a back seat. But I love they were able to, because you see in movies, they won't use the same car. There'll be inconsistencies. I noticed those things as a car guy. But no, they got a Ferrari that would work with a baby. And I love that they did that. So great homage too.
Now, did you see the reboot remake?
I did not. I just can't because Vacation is Chevy Chase.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. It actually shows you what's that?
I did see the reboot of Vacation.
It shows you the differences between filmmaking and style. And the difference is that in 1997 in Vegas Vacation, the character has the baby. And guess what, Clark? Everybody gets old. Everybody grows up. Right. In the reboot, they kill her. She is hit by a semi-truck, and it's supposed to be a laugh line.
Oh, yeah. Now, are you saying it's hilarious? Like it's genuinely funny?
No, it's just some of the worst writing you've ever seen.
That's what I've heard. Okay.
Clark Griswold is a funny, ne'er-do-well, bumbling guy who wants the best for his family. In the new film, Rusty, all grown up, played by Ed Helms, he's just an idiot.
Yeah.
He's just an idiot.
Okay.
That's the difference. There's no. I always go back. If you're going to go back to something, always go back to the best. I always go back to The Simpsons. The Simpsons are mean, caustic, toxic, and at the end of each episode, they love each other.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens, you're like, oh, this family really loves each other, and that makes everything okay.
Yes, very much like Vacation. Yeah, yeah. And in fact, if you look at Homer Simpson, the classic, cartoon TV dad, that's Chevy Chase. Like Al Bundy, also from Chicago, like the Griswolds. So and so there's a lot of those typical, bumbling father, means well, but he's bumbling around, never does what he's supposed to, and Yeah, it's a typical
Now,
kind of character.
You guys watch Married with Children?
Oh,
Yes.
I love that
Oh,
show.
I
I've
do.
seen
Oh,
every
yeah.
episode many times.
So
Oh, yeah.
are you aware that the family truckster is in the opening credits?
Yes, I think, yes, it is. That's right.
When they're showing the shot of Chicago, it is footage from Vacation. So the family truckster is driving right on the freeway.
Oh,
That's what
That's
I thought I
hysterical.
recognized that.
That's hysterical. And that's a great homage because, you know, if you look at it, you know, again, Vacation, the family in those movies, and the Buntys, there's a lot of similarities.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so here's the thing with Vacation. It's never gotten a really good home release with all tons of extras. There have been some,
Right.
I mean, my son's always going on about the Warner Brothers Keep case, which is that cardboard plastic flap thing. I have so many movies like that, and it's
the worst.
awful.
Yeah.
There is a commentary with Chevy Chase and Randy Quaid and a couple other cast members, but there's no comprehensive, like, throw everything in version, because, you know,
Right.
Vacation has an alternate ending. They filmed an ending, they showed it to test audiences, and the audiences hated it.
Oh, really? What is that? I never heard of that.
So it's very familiar if you've seen Christmas Vacation. So at the end of the first movie, they get to the park is closed. Clark goes and buys a gun.
Yes.
They don't go back to the park. They go to Roy Wally's house and they hold him hostage, and they make everybody sing Marty Moose songs. And he decides in the end not to press charges against the Griswolds. And then they get on a plane to go back home. And in the end credits of the film, there's a shot of them on the plane wearing Marty Moose hats.
Oh.
That's from that sequence where they're on their way home and Clark takes the plane hostage, like a hijacking. And it just sort of ends. Test audiences hated it. They said, "Are you joking? They're never going to get to
they got to go to Walley World. They got to go to Walley World. Yeah."
So Harold Ramis, the amazing director, he decides we're going to redo the ending. They bring everybody back. It's 4 months later. Beverly D'Angelo's hair is different. Anthony Michael Hall has grown 3 inches, which is why he is much taller than Beverly D'Angelo versus the rest of the film. And Harold Ramis reaches out to John Candy from SCTV and says, "You know that security guard character that you play on SCTV? Can we use him in the movie?" And John Candy says yes, because what's he in the movie for? 9 minutes?
Right. Not even.
He gets paid $1 million to be in the film.
In early 80s money. Yeah.
Worth every penny.
I mean, it's a fantastic cameo.
Parks Closed, Moose Out Front, should have told you.
Classic.
Is one of the most iconic comedy movie lines of all time.
Yes.
So they redo the ending, and of course the movie is then a big hit. Had they done the original ending, I don't think it would have been that big a hit, because when you lead somebody on a quest, they have to get there.
Right. Of course.
Exactly.
But there are examples of the quest not being completed. The most famous is Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh my God.
You know, just when they're about to get the Grail, they get arrested and thrown into the paddy wagon.
Yeah, that movie, by the way, has one of my favorite lines of all time. "She's got huge tracts of land."
Old woman, man. Oh, sorry,
guys. I have to tell you, when it got to the scene of when they get to Walley World, just seeing that there was Magic Mountain here in California,
right?
I literally had to take closer looks of the overview of the park, because I was looking back and I go, wow, so Revolution was there, Colossus was there, Viper was not there. I didn't see any. Well, Ninja and Tatsu didn't come till like late 90s, or but like some of the coasters I know that would have been there the longest would have been Viper, Revolution, Colossus, and probably Apocalypse, which is now today, which you see, or Apocalypse was
Cyclone was before
Cyclone,
yeah.
So I was in there.
Gold Striker would be one. Yeah.
So I guess my question to you guys is, was it Six Flags Magic Mountain back in the day it was filmed?
Yes.
Or was it Magic Mountain before
No,
Six Flags took
that
over?
was Six Flags. I believe that was Six Flags back then. I thought they took over in the late 70s, I recall.
Yeah, it was Magic Mountain up until late 70s with the trolls and stuff.
Right.
And then they switched over. And I think the big catalyst there would have been Colossus. You know,
Yes.
no one had seen anything like Colossus. So that's why all those movies, I mean, Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park and Vacation and was Roller Coaster
Roller Coaster was filmed on Revolution there. Yeah.
So they must have been like beside themselves with all that free publicity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Plus, let's not forget that the TV show Step by Step used Colossus at Magic Mountain and the front by the revolution of the loop of their title, which was amazing.
Oh, right. Well, of course, naturally, Magic Mountain being there in Los Angeles, in reality, it's just a stone's throw from Hollywood. It makes it easy for them to film, you know, on location and not have to travel by plane or, you know, and not go far away.
Yeah. But
go ahead.
I was going to say that I noticed that throughout the whole filming, when they were filming at Magic Mountain for Vacation, it was mostly over by the Colossus entrance area, that whole section of the park. They never did the actual front turnstiles at the park. It was all
that's the Santa Anita racetrack.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Now you can see not the front, which was not the real front, but you can see when they're in the security office, a couple little scenes in there. You can see that sort of, well, I don't know what you want to call it, but that kind of little village they have after you go through the turnstiles at Six Flags Magic Mountain. It looked like those same buildings from way back when. But of course, you know, the most iconic scenes from that end of the movie that are clearly at Magic Mountain, of course, are Colossus and Revolution. Those are unmistakably both of those coasters.
Yeah, and I think the producers set out they scouted Magic Mountain, Six Flags Magic Mountain, because they needed a theme park that looked nothing like Disneyland. You can't have a castle. You can't have a mountain. It's got to have steel tracks, wooden coasters, because I think they were very afraid of getting sued by Disney.
Right. I can imagine. Now, since we're talking about Magic Mountain, I do got to bring this up. And Jeff, I had messaged you when we were sort of planning for this a few weeks ago about how experienced you were with Magic Mountain. And like you said, you didn't live near there, didn't go there much. It wasn't like Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm for you.
Yeah.
So, David, when was the first time you went to Magic Mountain? How old were you?
Oh gosh, I think I was 10 or 11 years old.
Okay.
And, it's funny because I don't know if you guys can see it because I know this is audio, but this was my first time. Yeah. Let me see if I.
Oh yeah,
I happened to right in front of Revolution.
Yeah.
And I was there with my sister and my parents, my godparents.
Nice.
I found this photo recently, and I was like, wow. I was like, my mom gave it to me, and I said, yeah, I was probably looking at myself now. Yeah, I was about 9 years old when I went to Magic Mountain.
Okay, so Jeff, you may not remember this, but David, maybe you do. So obviously, Walley World, the name Walley World, it's all fictitious, and we also have the character of Marty Moose, of course, where Clark, when he's all frustrated because the park's closed, they can't get in, he punches the moose right in the nose and it indents and it stops talking. It's kind of, it's not the same voice anymore because he screwed up the speaker and the audio mechanism as well. Well, that is supposed to be, of course, a fictitious character, or is it? So, David, I know that you love Full Throttle Sports Bar at Magic Mountain. I hate Full Throttle Sports Bar. Why? Because it took away the best restaurant and one of my favorite things at Magic Mountain. Why am I talking about it? You'll see here in a moment. I'm talking about Moose Burger Lodge. Now, David, or Jeff, did you guys ever go to Moose Burger Lodge?
Unfortunately, no, not for me. And it's funny because you're the first one ever to bring that up because I have not had anybody ever mention Moose Lodge.
That's where it was, where the Full Throttle building is. And I remember going there all the time. It had the best food at Magic Mountain. The burgers, hence Moose Burger, were amazing. But here's where the tie-in with Vacation is. Now, I tried to research this. I Google searched quite a bit these past few weeks, and I could not find any record of this. But it had 2 floors to the restaurant. And the lower floor, which is usually where we sat, had kind of like an open area where you could see up to the 2nd floor. And along the walls there were 4 or maybe 5. There might have been one in the middle too, I think. Animatronic moose. There was, several moose, and one of them was named Marty Moose.
What year was this?
It opened, I did find some information on it. It opened in 1994 and it closed around 2013, 14 or so when Full Throttle opened. Maybe a little bit later, but it was somewhere in the mid 2000s or 2010s rather. But there was a moose named Marty Moose. And I was trying to find out, did Six Flags name that moose Marty Moose as an homage to Vacation? And I couldn't find it anywhere.
I would say the answer is yes, because when Time Warner bought Six Flags and put all the Looney Tunes characters in it, and the Batman lands, and then there are some Six Flags parks that have the truckster out front.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they've totally embraced it. Totally embraced it.
So it's got a coincidence.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
No, you're right on the money.
Yeah, I love that. So I don't know any of our listeners, if you're old enough or been to Magic Mountain in the late 90s, early 2000s before the restaurant went away. Hopefully you have some fond recollections like I do.
Well, here I can describe Six Flags in my experience as this. My mother was not interested in roller coasters. We spent most of our theme park days at Knott's Berry Farm because they had antiques, they had rustic stuff. Disneyland had the one-of-a-kind shop in New Orleans Square where you could buy antiques.
Yes.
We only went to Six Flags when they opened a new land called Spillikin Corners.
Oh.
Do you guys remember Spillikin Corners?
What is that?
No.
Spillikin Corners was like a Appalachian themed land with crafters and down home country music kind of stuff. So we went to, this is late 70s maybe, Spillikin Corners. And I remember that trip riding the Magic Pagoda ride, which we've talked about on your show.
Oh, yes.
Very little exists of the Magic Pagoda ride, but the Magic Pagoda ride and Spillikin Corners was my childhood Six Flags experience. And, the Trolls. And you know what? We'll bring it full circle. The movie Zapped with Scott Baio has an extended sequence at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Oh, really? How funny.
They go on one of the spinny rides, and he uses his powers to make the other guy spin so fast he vomits.
Oh, wow. Now,
it features a great scene where they all get together, and it looks like it's about 2:00 in the afternoon, and the one girl goes, "Guys, I think the park is closing."
Now, Jeff, you mentioned your mother not being a fan of roller coasters, but you know where I'm probably going with this. What about Berg? What was his opinion of theme parks and roller coasters?
Berg would never have gone to an amusement park. It's too expensive.
Right?
Oh yeah, no. They'll offer to get us some free tickets. I'll go with some free tickets, but I won't go. He would never, ever. If he had planned any kind of vacation like that, he would have made his kids like forego whatever their allowance was and chip in. Because there's a story that one Christmas he asked the kids, you guys all want a present from Santa Claus or a TV? So they all he got a new TV out of Christmas and didn't have to buy the kids anything.
That's funny. What a character.
I'll tell you, the last time I went to Six Flags, I have not been to Six Flags since probably 1998. Oh, that's how long it's been.
Oh, wow.
And there's a reason why. We were on a ride called it's their log jammer. Is that what it's called?
Log
jammer.
Yeah.
And I'm used to like Knott's Berry Farm. The log ride is in a mountain. It's fully themed. This one was just like tubes on the side of a real mountain full of water, right?
With drops and everything.
When you get to the final drop, there's a gate and there's a little booth where a guy sits there and he monitors like, we're ready to go. We got there and that guy was asleep.
Great.
Rachel and I are sitting in this log, this whatever the ride vehicle was, and I leaned in and I said, "That guy's asleep. We're gonna die." So I haven't been back since.
Oh, that's too funny.
And the other thing, I'll tell you, the other thing was they had Batman Land at that point. I even saw the Batman stunt show.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember the Batman stunt show? But they had a Keaton era Batmobile in front of the roller coaster out front.
Yes.
And I remember going to look at it and just like it was just destroyed. It was just in complete disrepair. It was rotting. And I was just angry. Like, why would you guys build this and not take care of it? It's the freaking Batmobile. So that was really upsetting. But I did get to see that Batman stunt show, that old Universal Studios style, where the director's like, okay, and cut.
Yep.
Now we're going to do a scene where the Riddler is attacking, whatever it was. It was very funny, very funny.
Yeah, I remember that show. I'd seen that a few times. Yeah, it's a shame because they sometimes do some decent theming there at Six Flags Parks, but a lot of times it's not kept up.
It's been 20 years. They're probably much better at what they do now.
It's better, but it's never going to be, just the economics of it, what they charge per ticket and their annual season passes and whatnot. You're always going to get your better theming at your Cedar Fair Park or Disney or Universal, etc. So it's just a different. Yeah. So.
Okay, so real quick, I forgot to mention. I took some notes. I forgot to mention that in the original ending, the Christy Brinkley character is Roy Wally's daughter, and that's how they get away with kidnapping him. I forgot to mention that.
Oh.
So it all comes full circle there. Yes.
Interesting.
How about this? So they took that ending and retooled it for Christmas Vacation, obviously.
Yes.
They don't go to his house. Eddie goes to his house and brings the character, the boss, which is Brian Doyle Murray.
Yes.
Murray's brother, who is in Vacation as the guy who runs the tents.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
The guy who's eating watermelon.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And then if you watch the credits, one of those pictures is the Griswolds with a guy in a moose costume.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah.
Okay. So when he takes their money, Clark asks him why it's so expensive, and he goes, "Oh, that's for the this and this and wildlife fun." Okay. Whatever that means. So apparently in the original version, wildlife fun means that, when Clark and Ellen are in the sleeping bag and the dog Dinky is attacking them.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to have sex with her again.
Right.
And he can't because the dog's attacking him. Originally, it's Brian Doyle Murray in a moose costume in their tent. And that's the wildlife fun portion of the stay.
That almost could have been better. Yeah. Wow.
But I think what they wanted to do was they needed to remind the audience that the dog is there. And in that sequence, Clark says, "I'm going to kill that dog." So then 2 scenes later, when the dog gets killed, you can connect them. Maybe subconsciously, maybe you didn't get it all on screen. You're not like me who watches a movie and studies it.
Right. No, I picked up on that though. And yeah, that is kind of one of those sort of quote unquote dark moments of Vacation. Again, it's treated properly and it's not, it's not in bad taste in my opinion, although I don't easily offend, but I do like that they went there because that was a little bit edgy, especially back then to do something like that. Nowadays, you probably wouldn't see something like that.
No, nowadays you couldn't hurt the dog in any way, or you'd actually lose the audience.
Right.
I mean, you would.
Which is a shame.
Look at I Am Legend. When the dog dies, people are not having it. Look at the movie that just came out with Channing Tatum called
Dog. I saw that. I saw that movie. Yeah.
He came out and said, "Hey, folks, come see my movie. The dog lives at the end." He wanted people to know up front.
Right. And I don't want to say too much because it's a fairly recent movie, but there is a scene in the movie where there is a pivotal scene where you're not sure if that's going to happen or not. I'll just say that much. But the dog goes through. Yeah, very true.
No, they did a study that the villain, you will hate a villain more if he kills a dog versus if he kills a human.
Oh, absolutely. I'm more of a fan of animals. I trust animals more than I trust a lot of people. So
and then the other caveat to that is not to go on a tangent, but movies about animals. Have you guys ever heard of the movie I just lost the name of it. Milo and Otis, The Adventures of Milo and Otis.
The dog and the cat. Yeah.
That's a 1989 movie made in China or Japan and narrated by Dudley Moore here in America about a cat and a dog, right?
Right.
Now, what people don't know is I think there were about 25 Milos and 25 Otises because they during the filming, they killed them. They put the animals in danger and they killed them. But it's not an American production. So it wasn't widely known at the time.
Wow.
Right. Interesting.
Almost like Homeward Bound in a way.
Homeward Bound. But I mean, the animals in Homeward Bound were treated like they should have been. They were treated like royalty.
Yeah.
That's one of my daughter's favorite movies. And I finally said, well, you know, you're just like your old man because the pit bull is Michael J. Fox.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How appropriate. Right.
Same with the movie Babe. There was like 35 babes, and not because they were in any danger, but because they kept growing up.
Oh, right.
Pigs grow fast.
Right.
So they were like, every 2 weeks, we need another babe. Get another pig in here.
Baby pig. Yeah. How funny.
Like it's weird to think in this day and age that those movies are made with real animals, because now they just make them with CGI.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I didn't see the movie, but did you see the trailer for Call of the Wild with the fake dog?
Yeah, it didn't look good.
No.
Yeah, it looked a little off, and especially
my favorite are the behind the scenes shots where the guy's on all fours, like pretending to be a dog. They actually had a motion capture guy as the dog.
No. Why didn't this motion capture a dog?
Or I don't know, just train a dog. It's
or
easy.
just train a dog. Yeah. I mean, that it's sort of like the thing, practical effects versus digital effects. I think there's place for both, but you can't just have one.
Isn't that the beauty of Jurassic Park? Is that you never certain which one you're looking at?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, and then my favorite fact about the movie is the original screenplay. The movie focused on Rusty and Audrey and them going on vacation with their parents.
Right.
And when they got Chevy Chase on board, because a lot of actors were considered, they're like, well, at the time, Chevy Chase is a big deal. He's coming off of Foul Play, SNL. He's a big comedic force.
Yes.
So they retooled the movie to be about Clark and not Rusty. Because originally, the girl in the car is a 13-year-old passenger who waves at Rusty every time they drive by, right? The only remnants of that version of the movie are at the end when Clark and Ellen are in the pool. If you look at the quick shots of Rusty and Audrey, there's another woman next to Rusty. It's a hooker who tried to pick him up at the hotel.
Oh.
Again, in footage that's never been seen.
Oh, well, what's interesting, because you talked about how the alternate ending for Vacation wound up in Christmas Vacation. One of the things about the vacation movies is even though they're across a long period of time, there sort of is this timelessness to them because the kids are roughly the same age.
Yeah, they just switch them out.
Different actors. And I remember Vegas Vacation, Nick Papagiorgio, that Rusty character. And again, same age. This is a Rusty, Anthony Michael Hall's Rusty, but he gets definitely much more of sort of your B story. He's getting into sort of stealing things and edgy sort of side of Vegas. And, so it's almost like maybe some of the things the ideas they had for the original version of Vacation, they put into that movie perhaps a little bit with that character.
Yeah, it was always interesting to watch the characters shift around because in the first film, Rusty's older than Audrey. In the second film, Rusty's older than Audrey. In Christmas Vacation, Audrey's older than Rusty.
Yeah.
Juliette Lewis.
Yeah, right. And there's, they take little artistic liberties like that. Comedies, in my opinion, are the least likely to have good continuity. Like, not that it's a movie, but one of my favorite TV shows of all time is The Golden Girls comedy. And again, there's so much inconsistency in that show. You can just tear it apart.
Well, the Simpsons coined a word for that. It's called bendable reality.
Yes, right. Very bendable.
Because there's a great joke where Homer gets caught in traffic going to the power plant, and he has to park so far away from work that he's literally up against his own backyard. Well, that's not true.
Yeah,
but in
that's
that
ridiculous.
particular joke,
Yeah,
it's
right,
okay to
it
be
works.
true. Why not?
It works. Yeah,
Yeah, it works for that one. It's okay.
So one of my favorite characters in Vacation, and she's not in the movie very much, but I just love the caricature that this character is Aunt Edna.
Yeah.
And she hates everybody. She especially hates Clark. But she's just so fun to watch, her facial expressions and how nasty she is. And she's, again, the movie is as much about road trips. It's really about family, as we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And she's basically that one relative that everyone hates, like the black sheep of the family. And I just love how she's portrayed. It's so funny.
I think if you asked everybody, they have an Aunt Edna in their family.
Yes.
Everybody has an Aunt Edna.
Yes.
Exactly. It's funny. Berg had an Aunt Edna. It was this horrible woman that Berg was convinced was going to leave him a bunch of money when she died. And every Christmas she would bring him an old Avon bottle that she'd wrapped up in Christmas paper. Not a new Avon bottle, an old Avon bottle. Oh, look at this Avon bottle. And then when she died, she didn't have any money. So
yeah,
it was all for naught.
In fact, I think, didn't you? I was listening to some of your episodes, Jeff. I think you had mentioned about that. I was driving, I was traveling, and I was listening to that. I was like, that reminds me of what my ex-mother-in-law used to do. She used to, for me, for Christmas every year, she'll buy the cheapest thing at a 99-cent store, like the cheapest shirt, right? But then she goes and puts it in a Macy's box to make it look like it was from Macy's. So she can make it look like it's an expensive gift, but really it's something from Pick and Save or Big Lots, and I'm like, and I'm just looking like, I don't know why she does it to everybody. She didn't just do it to me, she did it to everybody. And I was like, you know what? I know you're trying to make it look like it's all from fancy. You shop at fancy places, but you can't get this at Macy's. I'm sorry. Maybe to a rags to riches store, but I don't know.
Now, I was explaining to my son that Imogene Coca, to him, it's just an old lady in a movie. Like, he has no reference of Imogene Coca. Right. I said, no. Imogene Coca was one of the pioneers of comedy on television in a program called Your Show of Shows with Sid Caesar. And they were like the funniest people on the planet. And then obviously in Vegas Vacation, who do they encounter? Sid Caesar.
Sid Caesar. Oh, yeah.
So that's the connection.
With the winning Keno ticket, I think it was, or
I got the money. I won.
That's a great scene. It's funny. Some of these cameos in these smaller parts, like to the point where these are characters that are just in one of these movies. They're just gonna be so good, like Aunt Edna, or like Sid Caesar's character, or two of my favorites. I love the original Vacation. I love the tie-in with the theme parks, but I think really my favorite vacation movie of all time, I'm going with this, is Christmas Vacation.
Oh no, I thought you were going to say European Vacation.
Oh no, not that. No, Dark Days. But Aunt Bethany and Uncle Lewis.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the blessing. I have a shirt that has him on it. I wear it at Christmas. It's like my Christmas ugly shirt, whatever. But
that's the great William Hickey.
Oh yeah, what a classic! Yeah,
he's he's the scientist in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, he's also in a great movie called My Blue Heaven that nobody's heard of.
Oh yeah. No, I've seen My Blue Heaven. Yeah.
He's the mob boss.
Huh.
They want you to say the blessing. The blessing, and he's doing that thing with his mouth. Yeah. And then the Aunt Bethany is the voice of Betty Boop from the 20s.
Yeah, makes sense given her high-pitched sort of voice.
She does the Pledge of Allegiance. It's so good.
Oh my God. With the lights and Now, one of my favorite cameos, it is now a new favorite cameo, because I think this is the first time I ever watched the original Vacation where I recognized, one of those things in this internet age where you're watching a movie at home and you're like, wait a second,
who's that guy?
And you go onto IMDb, and I did that in one of the very first scenes of Vacation at the not the used car lot, but the car dealer. And I'm looking at the car salesman and I'm listening to him.
Oh, is that
Eugene Levy?
It's the great Eugene Levy.
And
Clark. if you're taking the tribe cross country, this is the car you got to have. You think you hate it now, but wait till you drive it.
Yeah.
You didn't order the metallic P?
And it's really funny because I loved how they showed in the beginning, like they made it where he had no choice but to buy that car because they had already taken his car back and crushing it, not even made a deal yet. And it's like, they made it where, could you imagine if car dealers actually did that in person? You go down there just to look, and all of a sudden they go and compact your car, and then they make it. Oh, but you have no choice but to buy a car now. That's lovely. So back to what you guys said about favorite characters. So I have to say, for me, I guess my favorite character would be Eddie. And it's mainly because in Vacation, you see he's living in this farmhouse and he's got all these animals, and he's got all these kids, and he's got Aunt Edna living there. I believe it was Aunt Edna's house. I'm not sure if if they were living there.
Might be right.
Something.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's Eddie's house, but they're using Edna's Social Security to pay for it. He says when they put her in the car, they're like, "You're going to keep those checks coming, right?"
And he said he was having trouble with the banks, and that all this stuff, and then asked Clark for $50,000. But if you notice, like every vacation, with the exception of European Vacation, so in this one, Eddie's in a farmhouse. In Christmas Vacation, he's now living in an RV.
Right.
A crappy RV.
Right.
But then in Vegas Vacation, he's on this big old desert land that was owned by the federal government that they used to test nuclear missile bombs and stuff on, and throws chicken on a rock, says, "Chicken's almost ready, kids." So it's just amazing that a guy with pretty low IQ seems to be very smart of finding ways to find living quarters or situations for him and his family, which is quite interesting.
I love when he's at the buffet and he goes, "I got the plate, kids. I got the plate."
And piles it just like, why doesn't he be like Homer Simpson, just grab the steam tray right out of the thing?
Now, my favorite in Vegas Vacation is Wallace Shawn as the dealer.
Oh, yes. The blackjack, right?
Yeah, because I love him from Star Trek and Toy Story and Princess Bride and a million other projects,
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Paging 300.
One of my favorite scenes in Vegas Vacations remind me of, again, having gone to Vegas. And I don't really gamble, but back in my college days when I lived in Arizona and we went to Vegas, I would gamble, play slots, play blackjack. And I love it when they go to that casino because Clark's getting desperate.
The terrible casino.
And the terrible casino with the worst odds and all the crazy games they have. Guess my number.
Pick a number.
I mean, that's what I think I love about these movies is they're so satirical. I mean, they're up there with Airplane, with the Airplane series, with their satire and their ridiculousness.
Oh, yeah. What's interesting, talking about Vegas Vacation, is that they flipped the script, and instead of Chrissy Brinkley going after Clark, it's Wayne Newton going after Ellen.
Yes. Oh my God, that was great too. Yes. And I love also another one of my favorite things. I call it my passion, but I really enjoy it, is magic. I love magic. I've been to the Magic Castle. I'm very lucky to be able to know a member to get in there. What an amazing afternoon that was. But the whole Siegfried and Roy, and now especially given the tragedy and with
they're
Roy,
both gone. Yeah,
both gone now. But having Clark show up with the Tigers, because I've seen that version of the show. That was that was the classic show. Yeah.
Isn't it shocking that Vegas Vacation was not a boost to tourism like it should have been?
That is shocking.
They got full cooperation from the Mirage and the Strip and the Neon Museum and everybody involved, but it would take until The Hangover to get that kind of, oh my God, we have to go to Vegas because of a movie vibe.
Yeah, I think I love Vegas Vacation, but I think Vegas Vacation, the peak Vacation, the series, was Christmas Vacation. That was really, everyone loves that movie, and especially nostalgia looking back. But Vegas Vacation, I don't, we could look it up, I suppose, but I don't think it did very well.
No, it didn't do very well. Yeah. And it's not made by the same team. It's a completely different production company.
Oh, that's part of the problem.
It's made in cooperation with a guy named Jerry Weintraub, who was a big producer back in the day. He's actually in the movie. He's one of the guys getting the massage with Nick Papagiorgio. I like you, Nick Papagiorgio.
Wow, that's a nice little factlet. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Wow.
I only know that because I'm insane. But
That's cool.
years ago, I wrote a script that I tried to get made into a movie, and Wide Trump Productions was one of the few that took a bite at it. They didn't make it, but they looked at it, which I thought was nice.
That's cool. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Something else.
But so real quick, you guys have never, you were saying, Andrew, you'd never seen European Vacation.
I have. I
seen
think I've seen it. And you know what? I think I have it on my server. I could go watch it. I remember never liking it very much. But you know how you said movies change?
Yeah,
I've been to Europe many times for traveling. I need to go back and watch it, and maybe I'll appreciate more of it now.
European Vacation is that problem of, like, I always go back to Phantom Menace, because people will go, man, the Phantom Menace is not bad. The pod race scene is great. I'm like, well, one scene does not make a movie.
Yeah.
Movies are a series of scenes that add up to a bigger whole.
Yes.
European Vacation's a terrible movie. It's a terrible film.
Yeah.
It's a cash grab movie. They told John Hughes, look, we're making the movie whether you're involved or not. It's going to be one of our tentpole movies for the summer. And at the time, John Hughes was making Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Pretty in Pink. He's a little busy. So they went ahead and made it without him. It's a mess of a movie. It's directed, I think, by Amy Heckerling, who directed Fantasy Ridgemont High, Clueless, competent director,
right.
A really good comedic director. The problem is that the tone is all over the place. It has a stupid subplot of a guy chased him through Europe because they have a picture or something on their camera, and there's more nudity with Ellen. She ends up becoming a porn star because videotape of her gets out into the public. The two kids are not likable at all. It's Jason Lively, and then the actress who plays Dana, she passed away at a very young age, the poor woman. But they're not given much to do. They're just not. The bright spots are, the movie opens with John Astin from Addams Family.
Oh, yeah.
As a game show host. And then the best running gag of the movie is the Griswolds keep wrecking their car against this poor bicyclist. He ends up more and more injured with blood and cast, and it's Eric Idle, and Eric Idle's fantastic in whatever he does. But the movie itself is a mess. It's an absolute mess, but it has one of my favorite stupid jokes of all time, where at the end of the movie, they're on the plane to go home, and the stewardess comes up and she goes, can I get you a Coke? And he goes, yeah, I'll have a Coke. And she goes, do you want that in a can? And he goes, no, I'll drink it right here.
I'll have it right here.
It's so stupid. God, it's so stupid.
Now, speaking of the can, I remember, again, another plane-based vacation movie where they didn't go on a road trip. They went on the plane, was Vegas Vacation. And Clark's in the bathroom as they're approaching Vegas with the blue. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. See, the thing with Vegas Vacation is it can't be a road trip, because if you say it's Vegas Vacation, they need to be there. So at the 10-minute mark, they're on the strip. It has to be.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. My son has Asperger's, and I'm pretty sure I do too. So there are certain things that just bug the crap out of you. Does it bother you that when every movie character drives down the strip, it's out of order?
What do you mean by out of? Oh, you mean the hotels?
The hotels are out of order.
Yeah.
I hate that.
That's it's sort of like continuity. Like I said, it bothers me, and I look for things, and I will, whoever I'm going to movies with, I'll say to them, it's like, that's not right. That's wrong. Yeah. I'm with you there. Yeah.
Like, did you see Con Air when they wrecked that plane on the strip and somehow magically hit the Hard Rock Hotel guitar?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and actually that reminds me, I love to travel by plane as well as by car, and I'm a big plane guy. I love planes. I've been on almost all the different types of planes in the world, and I hate it when they show the stock footage of the plane taking off.
Yeah.
And then they show people inside the plane, and they show it's clearly a 737, and then when they show the plane inside, it's a wide body. That just drives me crazy. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, they could have got,
My favorite one of that is a movie I've seen a lot, Great Balls of Fire with Dennis Quaid and Winona
Yes.
Ryder.
Yeah.
Whenever they get on a plane, they bought like old footage from the 60s or the 50s. And not only is the plane not the same plane they just got on, but the actual stock is grainy. It's not even the same film stock. And you're like, oh, I'm totally out of the movie. That's totally fake.
Yeah. But back to what you said about the filming of the Vegas Strip, I think the only movie I know that probably did it in order was Sister Act 2 in the beginning, because it showed the Frontier, Stardust, the Plaza hotels. Those are all in order as you're going down that part of the strip.
Any other time, they show the Vegas sign, then they show Circus, then they show Excalibur, then they show the Flamingo. You're like,
back and forth.
How long were they on the strip?
Yeah.
And here's my favorite piece of trivia from Vegas Vacation. When they go to the Neon Museum, to the Boneyard, to have that party, they are with the Beatles, the guys that are the Beatles, the Fab Four in Vegas.
Right.
One of those guys is an EMT at Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yes. I always go, you're the guy from, he goes, yeah, I used to be in a Beatles tribute band and we were in the movie. I'm like, it's great.
How random is that? So cool.
Yeah. The other one is not Vegas Vacation related, but we have a band that plays at Knott's called Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies. And they have an amazing repertoire of assembly of fiddle players. And I was talking with a guy and he goes, well, you're a big movie guy. Do you know this? And he started playing on his fiddle. And I was like, that's the kickoff to the scene in Back to the Future 3.
Oh.
When they're at the dance, right before ZZ Top plays. He goes, yeah, that's me. I said, oh my God, I know exactly what that is. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. Crazy.
Well, see, I always tell people always give me movie stuff because it's a parlor trick. They're like, Jeff will never figure this out. And I go, yeah, that's the movie so-and-so, directed by, released by, the year by. And I always say the same thing. It doesn't get you girls, you know?
It's useless. They call it useless trivia.
No woman has ever went, oh my God, he knows who directed these movies. Oh my, never, ever. The only thing it does is there used to be a board game called Seen It.
Remember the board?
It was a movie trivia game.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
When people would buy it and they'd go, hey, Jeff, you want to come over and play a movie trivia game? And I go, no, that's probably not a good idea.
You don't want me doing that.
Yeah. I went to a guy's house. He it's like $30 to buy this game. And I said, well, I'll go last. How about that? I'll go last. Okay. So they play the game and then I go and then I win the game. And he got really mad at me. And I said, you knew what you did. I said, you knew the problem when you invite. I said, it's not my fault. I said, you know what? I'll pretend to be stupid. Chewbacca? I don't know who Chewbacca is. So yeah. We went, they have a special tour at Warner Brothers Studio. Where you can you go on the tour. It's like Universal, except there's no rides and it's all like real movie stuff.
Right.
I got contacted by a guy who works as a prop guy there, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come down and I'll give you a special tour?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" Because the tour is like 2 hours. He gave us the 6-hour tour. Right. It was amazing. But he would play a game. He would pull up to a spot. He'd go, "Okay, what's this from?" And I would tell him. And at one point, he turns to my kids and he goes, "Your dad's a very scary, smart man about movies." Yeah. The two that got him were the toy shop from Small Soldiers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the other one was he drove us to the restaurant from True Blood, which I had never watched. And Merlot's, I think it's called. And he goes, well, they're still using that, or they're just finished using it. But I want to show you this lagoon. So he takes us, and we're in the middle of the Warner Brothers lot. There's like a jungle area. And he goes, what's this from? And I looked at it for a second and I said, oh, this is great. This is where Pee-wee rides on a vine on his bike. at the end of Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Right.
He just looked at me and he goes, "What do you do with your life? How do you know that?" And I said, I watched a lot of movies when I was a teenager. When we got our Betamax, it was like giving me the world, because I had a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas.
Right.
Only used them for reference for school, but a VCR, a beta player that could tape things. The movies I liked, I watched over and over. I looked at every frame. So
wow,
that's why I love movies,
Yeah, no, I as you know, again, I'm a huge movie fan. I'm not to your level with the
well, it's because you're
recollection.
normal. You're a normal man.
I don't know about that. I'm normal, but I do feel weird though around a lot of people, because there's things about movies that I follow or I know about. Like I have favorite directors and favorite, cinematic composers, and I love film scores, and people are like, "Oh wow, that's cool." Like what they're saying is, I don't agree with that. I'm not like that, so I can understand.
Yeah, we always make my son always makes a playlist for when we drive to Vegas, and he'll put songs for his mom, songs for himself, songs for my daughter, and then songs for me. And the songs for me, sometimes there's movie scores in there. Nice. My wife will just go, "There are no words to this song. I don't like this." And I'm like, "No, this is the overture from." She goes, "I don't care." I go, "Well, I'm enjoying it." So after this, because her idea of a movie song is a country song from Urban Cowboy. She's like I said, she's exceedingly normal. I'm not.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you, because I'll tell someone, "Oh yeah, I really love the soundtrack to that movie," and they'll mention some like famous lyrical song that's in the movie. I'm like, no, I'm talking about the score. They're like, "Oh, yeah, oh, okay." Do
you remember buying the Batman soundtrack and being upset that it was all Prince songs?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like, where's the music from the movie?
Yeah,
and that came out a couple months later.
Right. Everyone wants to buy the soundtrack, not the score. Yeah,
right.
Not the instrumental. Yeah.
So let's bring it full circle here.
Sure.
I just talked about going on road trips. When I first got an iPod, so we're talking 2002, 2003, and I discovered iTunes. Like, you could just buy a song. Right. Oh, that's awesome, because I'm from a generation where you could buy a single. You guys remember singles?
Oh yeah. Yep.
I used to have a bunch of singles, but I mean, you got to swap it out every time, right?
Right. It's annoying.
But the idea of iTunes, that you could buy just one song and then burn a CD for the car, that was a big deal.
Oh yeah.
So after that moment, every road trip I've ever taken with my kids always starts with, we put on Holiday Road.
Oh, I love it.
Always. And when the kids hear that song, they know we're going on a road trip. And usually it's Las Vegas. We have done Arizona a couple times, but like you said, there ain't much to do there. So we go, next time we should probably just go to Las Vegas, because there's a lot of things to do in Las Vegas. But it always has Holiday Road. And then I have worked it out sometimes where as soon as we hit the strip, I can program it to play Born to Be Alive from Vegas Vacation.
Oh, yeah. That's
because like I've said on my show, I like to watch movies, but my goal was always, how do I get in the movie? I want to be in the movie, so as weird as that is.
Right. Yeah. Now, one thing that's interesting is again, we're talking about scores, but talking about soundtracks and actual lyrical songs, Holiday Road being a typical lyrical based song. A lot of times recognizable songs in movies are just played once. It's a track of different. But Holiday Road is played multiple times. It's sort of like that theme of Vacation, and it's
their theme song. Oh yeah,
it's a great theme song. I love that song.
And that soundtrack's pretty hard to find. So
I bet.
The iTunes version is Lindsey Buckingham singing it live at a concert, which is not the best version, because at the end he like tells the audience to bark like a dog because the dog barks are playing. It's a very strange version.
Oh wow, that is strange. Wow.
But it does. I mean, it is the quintessential traveling song. So I really dig it.
Yeah. I love that you do that. That's really cool. That little
not so much anymore. There's not so many road trips left. The kids are too old. So
yeah,
I'm like Clark Griswold now.
I'll tell you, from one Back to the Future fan to the other, my most favorite one is I Can't Drive 55.
Yes.
And especially here in LA.
No,
Yeah.
it's physically impossible to drive 55 in LA.
No, no, which is why it's ridiculous. That's another suspension of disbelief. The way my mind works is scary. The movie Speed with Sandra Bullock.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's like, come on, it's in LA. Of course they do the whole runway thing. That made sense, to get on an airport runway and circle, but like driving a bus and being able to keep it. No, come on.
No, the bomb would explode within 2 minutes.
Yes.
Just be credits.
Yep.
I remember seeing Speed opening day in the theater.
Me too.
And at the end I went, oh, this is bull. There's no subway in Los Angeles. What the heck is this? Now there is, but there wasn't when the movie was released.
Yeah.
That was wishful thinking.
Right. Or a prediction of the future, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, this has been fantastic. I love talking movies, and you guys are great. We're going to have you back on anytime you want, and just pick a movie and we'll talk about it.
This was a lot of fun.
We'll have to talk about a Stephen King one next.
Nice.
Yeah, like I said before the show started, we were talking about Stephen King movie. What's your favorite Stephen King? You were saying which one it was.
Maximum Overdrive.
Fantastic film.
Everyone hates it, but the ones that people hate, I love.
Well, I think there's only 2 Stephen King movies that aren't books, and that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One of them.
The other one is a movie called Sleepwalkers that, again, nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that was a weird movie.
It's with cats or something, right?
Yeah,
like
with cats.
Giant cats.
And like vampires, sort of. And it was weird. Yeah.
We were talking about Dr. Sleep, which I thought was fantastic.
I got to see that.
Exactly.
But it's not a horror movie. I mean, it has horror elements, but it's more like if Stephen King wrote the X-Men.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, Dr. Sleep, man. I watched that a couple of times. I just I thought it was well done for something that's supposed to be like a sequel to The Shining. They did a good job, and I was very impressed by that.
An amazing job of not only being a sequel to The Shining the book, but The Shining the movie, because they're 2 different entities.
Right. Oh, you know what movie we need to maybe talk about, Jeff, sometime. Is Ready Player One. Talk about an 80s homage. Oh my God, the Shining scene in that movie. Oh my, love that movie. But yeah.
I always tell people I go to a lot of events, and I went to the Ready Player One pop-up attraction down in LA. And it was the most satisfying one I have ever been to. There were a couple of moments that I gasped that it was so much fun.
What was it? What was the experience?
They had you basically walked through the movie. So they built a mini replica of the stacks with all of the trailers.
Yeah.
They had people in them, and you walk through, and then you went through Wade's van.
Oh.
And in Wade's van, you were like, I'm putting on the headset. So when you left Wade's van, you went through a light tunnel, like you were going into the Oasis. And then I was so amazed. You actually went into the Oasis. You went into Wade's landing room, that room where him and where Percival and Artemis hang out.
Right.
And then you went to like the club from the movie, right?
Oh, wow.
And that's the part that shocked me, because in the club, they had Beetlejuice, Hello Kitty, Scooby-Doo. They had all these licensed characters as if you were really there. It was pretty darn amazing. Amazing.
Incredible. Wow.
And then you went through like a crystal maze, and you had to find the keys and then save the world or something. And then there was a photo op with a DeLorean. So it was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. You can watch it on YouTube.
I'll have to take a look for that. That's the only thing I've done like that when I lived in California is before the first It movie came out, the modern ones, not the miniseries. And they had a pop-up 2-story Neibold mansion in a lot right there in Hollywood. They built it. It was a haunted house, and they had a Georgie, with the yellow raincoat and the balloon. They had a bunch of those, and each one would take a group of people through.
Yeah, that's great.
Amazing special effects, and
I love that stuff.
Oh, so cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, I love it.
Awesome. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Well, I thank you guys both for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun. What a great conversation. Vacation 1983. you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you?
Amen.
And check out Coaster Challenge podcast. Where can they find it? Everywhere,
on every podcast network you can think of. We're on it all.
How many episodes have you done?
This Friday, well, as we're filming this, because it's March 8th right now, but this coming, we do new episodes every Friday, but this Friday will be our 50th episode.
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Most podcasts don't make it past 10.
Yep. We've done well. Yeah.
In fact, we're actually toward our season finale. The end of March will be our end of season 1, and then season 2 begins in mid-April. And we've got such incredible guests from the park industry. We've had people from all other coaster enthusiasts and stuff. They share these amazing stories about how they face fear, and some of the stories they share, we've really, Andrew and I both agreed that we both learned a lot, and just in our first season, just how people face fears and how they conquer it in so many different ways. I'm very excited for season 2 because we've got even more bigger guests coming on from all places, which is really awesome.
That's fantastic. Well, check it out. Again, Coaster Challenge podcast. It's a lot of fun. I was on it. You had the guy from Fake Theme Park on it. That's fantastic.
Yes, Jason's amazing. Love Jason.
But there's one thing I will share with your audience, for anybody who's fans with Mice Chat, we'll be kicking off in May Mice Chat month for season 2 on the Coaster Challenge podcast. So all the major people from the Mice Chat group, Dusty Sage, Doug Barnes, Andrew Schuyler is going to be on there, and
Robert Coker.
All really great people that I have worked with and done shows with. Those are great guys.
Oh, they're awesome.
Such a passion for the industry.
Big time. Lots of fun. They put on great events too. Yeah.
I was telling you guys a story at the park about Robert Coker that I just love, that he wrote a book called Thrill Machines about roller coasters, and he didn't get to pick the cover. So when the book arrived, they actually put Windjammer on the cover, which is a notorious roller coaster at Knott's that was only open for like 25 minutes. Which I actually rode.
Really?
Windjammer.
Really?
They used to call it, internally, they called it Neck Jammer. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It was an honor.
How I end this stupid show?
Yeah.
You know how I end it? I always go 9. Like, you ever see Private Parts?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Howard Stern.
Yes.
Oh,
When they're
great
going WNBC, right?
Yeah.
I go
right.
91. You want to do it?
91
This is the show
reasons.
called. Yeah, do it. What is it?
91 reasons.
I couldn't have said it better than that. Hey, we'll see you on the next episode of whatever this show's called.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?